Hello, everyone. Welcome to the May 3rd Father, Son, and Holy Sport NFL show. I'm G-Man. That there is G-Money in Cincinnati. What's up, T?
What's going on, G-Man? Post-draft, there's some big contracts signed, trades made. It's going to be an interesting diagnosis of what's going on in the world today.
Hey, well, I like that. You're ready to go, aren't you? Hey, man, this is great. The NFL draft just ended. We had a great draft show live, you and I, going live on the draft, man. That was fun.
Yeah.
And the quarterbacks again dominate the draft. Everybody looking for that quarterback, man. 11 quarterbacks taken through the first 150 picks is an NFL record.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Just quarterbacks are how you move your franchise needle, and that gives your franchise hope, and it, makes sure that you're doing the right thing as a GM, and it just brings the whole team together. You can get that position right. So not surprising, but going to be interesting. This kind of feels like a down year of quarterbacks compared to the sandwich we were just in of next year and the year before. So interested to see how these guys flush out.
Ooh, man, you're not high on these quarterbacks, huh? Well, hey, man, we've been talking about it for a long time with these Bears giving up that first draft pick. Carolina goes and gets it, and they go get their quarterback, Bryce Young. I know we're going to be talking about some of that, but man, it all worked out for Carolina. They got their guy.
Yep. Good for them.
Hey, y'all, do us a favor, press that like and subscribe, man. We appreciate your support as we roll into the beginning of the new season, man. We're excited to take you through the NFL Ross rundown, baby. Let's do it. Team Money. Let's talk about one of those quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson, Team Money. Great move there. Smart on the Ravens to sign him up.
Yeah, very smart. I'm shocked he still got this deal. I don't know who the Ravens were competing against, because it sounded like no one was ready to trade for him or offer him this.
Yeah.
Or Lamar wasn't doing his own reaching out to teams, and it was just a really weird situation. I don't know if he was just always asking for a fully guaranteed deal and saw that that Jalen Hurts couldn't even get one. So if he can't, I'll just take 10 million more and call it a day. But hey, good for the Ravens. The smart move. Their offense revolves around him. They brought in Odell. They drafted Zay Flowers in the first round, kind of Tyreek Hill-ish. So I like the direction they're going here. They always have a solid defense and run game. So now they got some experienced receivers and Bateman back healthy. This is going to be a really interesting roster now.
Yeah, I'd like it too. I agree with you. I'd like them signing him up. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He's one of the contenders for the NFL MVP now. I'm just looking at this morning, he's number 6 on the list in the NFL, odds to win the NFL MVP. So why not wrap a guy up like that and not create a big hole for your team?
Yeah, exactly. I think that both sides are going to be happy with this deal. I'm sure the Ravens are happy to get this done. Lamar's technically the best, highest paid quarterback ever, not fully guaranteed like Deshaun's, but highest paid annual value. So he's got to be happy about that, at least kind of resetting the market. This is good for everybody involved. Really smart for them to get this deal done, especially before the draft. Happy for all sides, really. I thought this was the best scenario for everybody, and good for Lamar getting his money. He deserves it. He's an MVP, and I'm excited to see what this offense looks like under a new OC and some new weapons on the outside.
Yeah, there are questions on him still with that injury. I still think it's a question mark with him, and then those other quarterbacks in that AFC. I mean, there's 8. Let's say 7 great quarterbacks in that AFC, and he's one of them. And how are they going to get out of that? I mean, they made the playoffs last year when he was injured, but can they, get out of that division and compete for that championship? I don't know.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. But I want to talk about another quarterback that was signed and traded to the New York Jets. All right. They finally get their guy, Aaron Rodgers. He's traded from the Green Bay Packers to the Jets. And now New York's buzzing. He's showing up at all the games, the
Oh
hockey
yeah.
games, and
Basketball. He was at the basketball
all the
game last night.
basketball
Yeah.
games. He's making his rounds, and
He
everyone's
is.
on the Jets train. And they're now they have the fourth best odds in the AFC right now to win the AFC. So everyone's high on the Jets right now. What do you think, G? Are the Jets now Super Bowl contenders after trading for Aaron Rodgers?
Hey, man, I said this back in the winter when I was wearing caps on my head. This was the spot for Aaron Rodgers. I love this fit. I think this is the fit. This is good for both parties. Rodgers and Green Bay missed the playoffs last year. I mean, he now moves to a squad that he can make the playoffs. And the Jets needed a quarterback, and they could have made the playoffs if they would have had one. So, I mean, this is a win-win. He needed a new start. He's going to get attacked. Don't let all this, him sitting at the games and smiling and laughing. Don't let all that fool you, because those New York fans will put the pressure on. But I think he's used to that. He's been attacked, a lot, and I think he can take that. That's why I think he fits well in New York. But he can make it. He's got a 3-year run here, I think, where he still can play at an elite level for the next few years. And they had a big hole, and they just filled it.
Yeah, I can think that this is a really great fit like you, and that this is great for the Jets. I just don't think they're Super Bowl contenders, if that makes sense. The Jets, out of everybody who threw at least, I think it is 150 passes last year, the Jets had the 3 worst quarterbacks in the NFL with Flacco, Wilson, and White. So they get a guy that can stabilize the organization, help mentor Zach Wilson potentially. They got a young core of receivers and running backs and defensive backs. Defense is going to be interesting now because that fluctuates a lot. I know great defenses, when they're the best in the league, they might drop to 10th best in the league. Still really good, but is that going to be able to carry you through games? And Aaron Rodgers last year had statistically his worst or second worst year in every passing metric you can look at of his career. Passer rating, touchdown interception, yards, all these things, worst or second worst in his career last year. So was that a down year because of the new receiving core he had, or is that a trend? I'm just shocked that obviously Kansas City, Cincinnati, Buffalo, top guys. But the Jets didn't make the playoffs last year, and they're ahead of the Chargers, the Ravens with Lamar, Miami, Jacksonville Jaguars, who are trending up and won a playoff game last year. I mean, there's a lot of talented people here ahead of the Jets, and all they did was bring in Aaron Rodgers. That's it. Who had a bad year. So I'm not sold on these guys as Super Bowl contenders. If you're going to say, hey, does this team make the playoffs? Yes. Just barely, like maybe 10 wins.
Yeah. And I agree with what you're saying. Is he going to be like Russ, where there was all this excitement and Russ let us down in Denver? Or is he going to be like Stafford, where Stafford made that move to LA Rams and he took him to the title along with some other people? But, is he going to be Stafford and lead them to the title, or is he going to be Russ and fall apart? Now, one of the advantages is he gets Nathaniel Hackett. He's back with Nathaniel Hackett as the OC. So that was smart of the Jets to bring in Hackett, who Rodgers likes and is comfortable with. So I think that's good. They've got the offensive weapons, I think. They're building around him, and they brought in Lazard. He likes Lazard. So he picks up an old teammate. He has a couple good tight ends, Tyler Conklin and Uzuma. Those guys are good. And Breece Hall's back. Remember, he was injured. So they pick up that Breece impact on the offense. I think he's got a lot of weapons around him, but the pressure is going to turn up, man. If he loses a couple up front, the pressure is going to turn up in New York, man.
I agree. That pressure is going to be ratcheted for sure in New York.
Hey, let's go back to the draft and talk about the draft. Who won? Who lost? Starting off, T-Money. Who do you think had the best NFL draft?
I think it's the Eagles. And
yeah. Okay.
I think mainly because of where they are already roster-wise, how they performed last year. They lock up Jalen Hurts to a long-term contract, so he is set. They don't have to worry about their quarterback, which is a big question for 90% of the NFL. Their roster is great.
Yeah.
They trade for DeAndre Swift. I'm adding that in there as a draft day move. So they lose Miles Sanders. They bring in DeAndre Swift. Great value for only, I believe, a 4th rounder of next year or something like that. Then they get maybe the best draft player in the draft, Jalen Carter at number 9. They get a guy in Nolan Smith at the end of the 1st round who was projected to go in the top 15. And then from there, they fill out some other really good pieces. I'm not going to go too deep into these 4th, 5th rounders, but I trust Howie Roseman and these guys. And they're just adding some really great talent with a really great roster. And like I said, adding DeAndre Swift is an underrated move they made. And that's why I think the Eagles won this.
And they added 3 Georgia defensive players, man. How do you go wrong with that?
Yeah.
3
That's
more.
Their new thing is they're adding just champions from SEC teams. All right. Yeah. Devontae Smith and, AJ Brown, all these really great SEC guys. But hey, I just think with them, where they're already positioned, what they've done with their quarterback, what they did last year, and how good that roster already is to get a few great players at the top of the 1st and the end of the 1st, and then to trade for DeAndre Swift, I think they're in position to be by far and away the top 2 in the NFC with the Niners. I don't think it's even close.
Yeah, I like that too. I like your choice there. How about them also in round 6? They pick up Tanner McKee, the quarterback from Stanford. Pick up a quarterback to back up Jalen. Yeah. That's kind of interesting in round 6. I like your pick. My pick's going to be the Seahawks. I like the Seahawks, not only what they did in the draft, of course that's part of it, but it's just their whole move here, man. They're just making moves. They really had a good draft. They had 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, 2 fourth-round picks, 2 fifth-round picks. They're just reaping the rewards of that trade with Russ to Denver.
Yeah.
And they took advantage of it, man. They got 2 of the top 15 players. Witherspoon, the cornerback from Illinois, might have been the top cornerback. I know we were going back and forth. He's either 1 or 2. And they got JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba from Ohio State, the top receiver. They got those 2 guys, and then they just kept adding after that. Picked up another running back, believe it or not. Yes. They've now selected 11 running backs in the past 10 drafts. They love that running game, man. Even though everybody says, well, they got Walker. Yeah, but they've never really been a bell cow kind of team. They like to keep moving different running backs in and just grinding people down. So I like what they added to this team. So I guess that's my number 1 pick. I think they were 9-8. They made the playoffs. San Fran finished 13-4. Can they catch San Fran? I think they stepped closer.
Yeah, I really liked them too. I think that they're one of the top few teams in the draft. It also helps that they just have a shit ton of picks. And so when you add that, you have
right.
And so the more picks you get, you're just going to move up on my board because there's less room for error and more availability to miss and hit. So I think they had a great draft too. I think Charbonnet might have been a bit of a reach for a team that already has a solidified running back. I think they could have used their draft capital in the 2nd there a little wiser. They definitely needed a little more help on the defensive line, but I'm just nitpicking at this point. I think they have a really solid roster now. They're trending in the right direction. The receiving core is trending towards top 5 in the league at this point. So excited for the Seahawks. Good for them. I agree. Really great draft.
Yeah, they picked up on deep. They picked 2 defensive ends and a defensive tackle. One of their defensive ends, Mike Morris from Michigan. You're one of your men there.
Oh yeah. Well, that's interesting. We're talking about the best teams. Let's transition to who was the worst team draft this year.
Well, I'm going to go. I've kind of went on this thing of these trades that have happened with these quarterbacks, people losing their picks or picking up the picks. We talked about Seattle, one team that got a lot of picks for Russ. I'm going for my losers, 2 teams that have given up a lot of picks, and because of that, they had a terrible draft. And that's the Browns and the Broncos. I grade them as the 2 lowest, in part because they didn't have the picks.
Yeah,
I'm taking that into account. But these are two teams, the Browns and the Broncos. I kind of put them in the same category. They both had losing records. They both, I believe, finished in last place in their division. I'll have to look at that, but I think so. But they could contend for their division. I think both teams could contend. You know what that's going to depend on? Their quarterback rising to the occasion. Can Deshaun Watson pick up the Browns? Can Russ, with Peyton now with the head coach, can Peyton get Russ turned around? But their drafts were horrible. They didn't really get anybody. And they didn't have any picks, and they didn't get anybody anyway. I was looking at their picks there, nothing, so they got this same team with this quarterback that's a question mark. I put them at my two lowest spots.
Yep. And like we kind of mentioned, I think just not having the draft capital also hurts for sure.
What do you think?
My honorable mention here goes to the Texans. I like you getting CJ Stroud. I just think you way overpaid for Will Anderson. And I love Will Anderson.
Yeah.
But you're giving your first round draft pick of next year up when you're in a big rebuild. I get if you're the Niners and you're going all in right now. I got to get guys right now. I'm in a window. But
yeah,
next year, that draft pick's going to be a top 5 draft pick. And they just gave it up to move up for Will Anderson. I didn't like the move. Like the move. So that's my honorable mention. I just didn't like that move. I like the draft. I like the players. It's the draft capital that gave up. Sorry.
Oh, wait, so you got an honorable mention. You're answering you're still one of your top ones.
My worst draft.
Who's your worst?
Is the Detroit Lions. Shocking.
Okay.
I just thought they reached in the first, second, and third rounds. They had, I think, 4 picks in the first 2 rounds. Gibbs was a major reach. All right. They could have got him they had the 18th pick and they had the 34th pick. They could have drafted him in the 18th pick easily. And he might have been there at the 34th pick. The guy was graded late first round, early second. Their linebacker, Jack Campbell, in the first round was also projected a second round pick. Their tight end, Sam Laporta, was projected a third round pick. And their safety, Brian Branch, was projected a 4th round pick.
Yeah.
All right. I think they just overdrafted every single position. And there was such better players on the board at all times. Michael Mayer was on the draft when Laporta got drafted. They really needed a cornerback, and they didn't draft a single one. That was their biggest positional need going into the draft. And they had Witherspoon sitting there and the Christian Gonzalez sitting there multiple times. They traded down. I always like trading down. I'm fine with that. But I just think they reached in a lot of positions. I like Hooker to this team. I think Hendon Hooker was probably their best draft pick. If I was,
I like Hooker. Backing up Goff. Yeah.
I think that was their best draft pick. I just think Gibbs is a luxury. David Montgomery and DeAndre Swift are fine, and he was going to be there. I just think they overdrafted everyone. That's when I'm looking at this. The draft is all about getting value, and they reached on so many that you're putting a lot of draft capital and pressure on guys that don't deserve it or need it. And so now this Jack Campbell linebacker, which I don't like taking linebackers that early anyways, because they're not a positional value. He's not going to be great. He's just not. So
we were going on the live draft. I think that was the 12th pick. That was our last one that we did live. And we're like, what the heck? Where'd that come from?
Yeah,
way early on that one.
It's just a weird draft for the Lions. They just reached too much. So that's why they're my worst team.
We'll see. It ended up 9-8. They did not make the playoffs. The Vikings crush the NFC North last year, going 13-4. We'll be interested to see if the Lions can go get that division. It's kind of wide open.
Yeah, I think they're the best team in the division, and that's why I'm upset. Is I feel like they reached on too many guys when they needed a few to plug and play and a couple corners and wide receivers, and they're back in this. Running back was not a need, and these guys are ready to roll and win this division. So that's why I was a little disappointed.
Well, let's move on to some of the quarterbacks. Good choices there, Team Money, on the winners and losers. How about the big quarterback names, the 1-2 quarterbacks, Bryce and CJ? What do you think? Who has the better first year?
Oh, man, this is really tough. Because I think that I think CJ has the better receiving core and the better running back and things like that. I just don't like the Panthers offense a lot, but I think because they have Frank Reich and I think Bryce Young is the best quarterback, most pro ready, I'm going with Bryce Young to have the best year right away. He's used to playing with guys that maybe aren't the best receiver on the field or can't separate from a corner. I think CJ's going to struggle a little bit, realizing I don't have Jackson Smith and Jigba, Garrett Wilson out there every play, and Chris Olave in the slot where everyone's wide open.
When you say it like that, it's like, wow, look at those receivers.
And everyone is wide open. Everyone creates separation, and the receivers are the best players on the field every time they step on the field. So I think CJ is going to struggle in the beginning because of that. He just is. It's his adjustment to having to throw in such a tight window, guys not being open, and you got to throw them open. I think Bryce is a special talent, and with Frank Reich, I think they'll be able to just tread water while CJ might struggle a little bit at the beginning.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you there. I think CJ's got the tougher situation. And something you always talk about, T-Money, is that defensive-minded coach. You got D'Amico Ryans, who's a defensive guy, and here you got a new quarterback. How's he going to do with that offense? Well, that's another question mark. So I like Bryce, his position better. I think he can go in right away and do it. He's being compared to these guys behind me. How about these guys behind me here? And these are three guys that he's being compared with because of his accuracy, his ability to throw shorter throws and mid-range throws, and his size. And so Drew Brees, way in the back there, Drew Brees is the guy that's most compared to him. What do you think about Bryce Young and his comparison to someone like Drew Brees? Same height, 6 feet. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's good. I think his arm talent wise that Bryce Young might be better. His instinct in the pocket is just amazing. So I'm excited to see Bryce. I think he's got a lot of special talent. It's just his size that concerns me. That's it. I have no question marks. This guy was 6'2". He's a generational talent.
Same height as Drew Brees, so it can be done.
Yeah.
You know. Carolina last year, remember Carolina, that disastrous start last year. They get rid of Matt Rule. Baker Mayfield does not work out. Sam Darnold comes in, and they carry this team almost to the edge. They just fell short of the postseason. They still almost made the playoffs. In this division that is gettable. I mean, they can win this division. So Bryce comes in, he can start, and he can take them potentially to the playoffs. I really think that he can get it done. Frank Reich concerns me, however, although you see it as a strength. I see him as he lost his job in Indy, and he had a hand in bringing those quarterbacks in. Everybody says, well, he didn't have, the young quarterback. Well, he had great quarterbacks. The guy is so conservative, T-Money. He's so conservative. He's going to run the ball, and is he going to open up that offense a little bit?
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I think we both think he isn't the best at big games, but he can mold a quarterback, I think. So I think that Bryce, I agree, is in the best position.
Okay.
But I want to ask you about the last big name quarterback taken here that we haven't talked about, and that's Will Levis, projected top 5. I think at one point on the screen at the end of the first round, it was a 99% chance he'd be drafted in the first round already. When it goes to the top of the second round, the Titans get their guy that everyone projected they might take in the first round. So Titans are happy, I'm sure. But what do you expect from Will Levis and the Titans?
Well, we know he has a girlfriend that everybody's going crazy about that was in the room with him. And so he did a great choice there, but I think he's got an opportunity here. I mean, he's going to learn under Tannehill, and I think he's got an opportunity. I think he can do it. It's going to take some time for him to develop a little bit, and this is a perfect situation. Under Tannehill, Tannehill comes off his contract after this year, I believe. So that after this year, that could open up the door for Levis to come in and take this job and do it. So he's got some time there. He's not going to come out of the gates and be a big starter and any of that. I think he needs a little bit of time. They did pick up Skoronski. Remember Skoronski, the big tackle in the draft. They got a nice offensive tackle. He may play guard. Northwestern's left tackle last year. So they trade up to get Levis. They traded up in that second round to go get him. So that was an interesting move by the Titans, to go get him in that second round. So
Yeah.
they pick up Skoronski to help out that line. They pick up a running back. Taj Spears from Tulane is supposedly going to be the backup to Henry, who they may lose. Henry may be traded. And then they pick up T-Money, the Titans, in that fourth pick. Josh Wiley, the tight end from your Bearcats. What do you think about? What about him as the tight end for the Titans? What do you think?
Hey, man, he has such great potential. I love Josh Wiley. He was very underutilized, especially after Ritter left. Sorry. So, yeah, excited for Josh Wiley. The dude's crazy talented. But
okay.
I'm interested to see what happens to Will Levis here. I think this was good for him. I don't know why Will Levis all of a sudden got cocky going into the draft night. Clearly the third at best option. And so to be that cocky, to talk as much as he did, and throw the videos out of him shirtless, and like, look, they're not looking for a middle linebacker. They don't care what you look like. They care that you can't throw better than 3 quarterbacks clearly taken before you. So let's just pump the brakes on your cannon arm. And I think the fact that he fell out of the first round and was drafted in the second will humble him. And I think he needs that. And now getting to sit behind Tannehill, I think will help him, where he doesn't go to a situation where he's the starter. He's got to fight. He's got to learn. And I think Tannehill's a professional, so I'm excited to see him mentor him. I think Tannehill's going to be good. And right now he's told that he's actually third on the depth chart behind Malik Willis.
Of course.
So it's going to be interesting to see how he handles all this. But I like Will Levis. I think he has a lot of potential. He's a cannon arm. He does. He just needs to be reeled in a little bit. And I think he got a dose of that. So excited for him. I don't think we're going to see him in a Titans jersey this year. So give it a year or two. And I think he might show some guys up. But he needed a humbling, and I think he got it.
Well, I think he'll be in a Titans jersey. You mean starting?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it'd be interesting to see these guys going at it, Levis and Malik Willis. Malik Willis just isn't going to lay down and give him that second spot. Malik Willis probably working hard, man. He probably is like, I've got to do this, or I'm going to lose that second spot. And so he's going to be coming back strong, too. It's going to be a battle for that backup. Tennessee had that division. They let Jacksonville pass him up last year at the end, and now Jacksonville makes the playoffs. They're the leader in that division right now. Ken Vrabel, who I love as a coach, Ken Vrabel, get this team back on track. They're definitely rebuilding, but he's got a big job in front of him. I hope he can do it, T-Money.
Yep.
Hey, we hope you're loving the Father, Son, Holy Sport NFL show. If you're interested in being a sponsor, reach out to us and look for our segments and clips on all the social platforms at Father, Son, and Holy Sport. Check out our website. You can buy some merchandise. Let us know what you think. Get us some hats to wear for the year, man. Come on, Jets. Get us a hat, baby. On behalf of Team Money, I'm G-Man. See you next week.
All right. Peace.